Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here, and as I promised with my last video, we're going to kick this month off by showing off some of the old Titans Return series toys to help promote the upcoming release of the Titans Return expansion to the Transformers card game. And as you can probably guess, we're going to take a look at both Optimus Prime and Megatron. Of course, the Titans Return lineup featured a gimmick that did originate back in the Generation 1 era, as they were known then as Headmasters, where the head of the figure could be removed, and with some simple folding out, it became its own separate figure. Now, of course, depending on what part of the world you're sitting in at that time, would also determine the origins of these characters. The American cartoon insists that these characters were from the planet Nebulon, and were basically similar to humans that became binary bonded to a specific transformer. They wore a specifically designed exosuit that would allow them to transform into the robot's head. In the Japanese continuity from the Headmasters anime, the Headmasters were actually small transformers that transformed into robot heads, and they would attach themselves to a lifeless transector body, like Megatron's is over there right now, and would thus be able to use that robot and control its movements. Which, in a lot of ways, makes considerably more sense than the American version did. As the media went on, it would depict that in America, the Headmaster, while the person that's inside the suit would live a normal life outside of Transformer battle, the bonding process meant that the Cybertronians' thoughts were staying in their head all the time. So, kind of make a normal life very difficult if you've got a robot's thoughts going on inside your own head in addition to your own. The Titans Return concept here takes the gimmick a step further, as it does allow the heads to be interchangeable, as the idea was in the original Japanese version for the Headmasters. So we'll swap their heads here for a moment, if they will just cooperate. There we go. And like we said there, now they've each got the other one's head. But there's apparently an added gimmick that's more for play value than anything else. That each robot's head also provides the body a specific power. So each robot would gain special abilities depending on the head that was attached to them. Now, for this month's reviews, we will not be comparing them to their Generation 1 counterparts. We've kind of already done that for many of them. And just about all of them that I have reviewed their Generation 1 versions. So this way we can get on to direct reviews. So let's take a look at each of these guys one at a time. First, we'll take a look here at Optimus. Optimus was a Voyager class toy. And for in the Titans Return line, all the Voyager class figures were triple changers. So it's a kind of a new gimmick here for Optimus. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it. Especially when pretty much almost all of the, I think just about all of the Voyager class guys were a repaint and slight retooling of another character. Optimus shares the same body style as Octone, better known as Octane in the Generation 1 canon. So that means he will become an airplane and a fuel tanker truck. So, like I said, not really sure how I feel about that. And of course, Prime is bonded primarily to this figure, known as Dyac, who grants Prime the ability to teleport. An ability that I'm sure Optimus could use very much. Dyac, of course, gets his name from Diaclone, the toy line from Takara that Hasbro pretty much bought out to make the Transformers. So, that makes a nice homage to the classic toy line. And of course, this lets you see the accessory. You can see he's got the very familiar Optimus Prime head on his back. And of course, we'll show the other accessories here. He's got this large trans-yellow sword. Of course, most of us are more used to seeing Optimus with an Energon axe instead of a glowing yellow sword, but this doesn't look too bad. And, of course, Optimus has this black gun, design of which is pretty common amongst the Titan Masters. As you can see, it's got a seat carved out in it. That means Dyac or any other Titan Master figure can be put into a seated position, like so, and kind of look like they're manning the guns. Okay, we're going to transform Optimus here into his alternate modes. I'm going to do it kind of fast and off camera because these guys are a real pain to transform. Even with having them for years, I still need to reference the instruction manual, and I'm not a fan of how the new instructions have been. So, here we go. First, we'll take a look here at Optimus. Optimus was a Voyager class toy, and for in the Titans Return line, all the Voyager class figures were triple changers. So it's a kind of a new gimmick here for Optimus. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it. Especially when pretty much almost all of the, I think just about all of the Voyager class guys were a repaint and slight retooling of another character. Optimus shares the same body style as Octone, better known as Octane in the Generation 1 canon. So that means he will become an airplane and a fuel tanker truck. So, like I said, not really sure how I feel about that. And of course, Prime is bonded primarily to this figure, known as Dyac, who grants Prime the ability to teleport. An ability that I'm sure Optimus could use very much. Dyac, of course, gets his name from Diaclone, the toy line from Takara that Hasbro pretty much bought out to make the Transformers. So that makes a nice homage to the classic toy line. And of course, this lets you see the accessory. You can see he's got the very familiar Optimus Prime head on his back. And of course, we'll show the other accessories here. He's got this large trans-yellow sword. Whereas most of us are more used to seeing Optimus with an Energon axe instead of a glowing yellow sword, but this doesn't look too bad. And of course, Optimus has this black gun, design of which is pretty common amongst the Titan Masters. As you can see, it's got a seat carved out in it. That means Diac or any other Titan Master figure can be put into a seated position. Like so, and kind of look like they're manning the guns. Okay, we're going to transform Optimus here into his alternate modes. I'm going to do it kind of fast and off camera because these guys are a real pain to transform. Even with having them for years, I still need to reference the instruction manual, and I'm not a fan of how the new instructions have been. So, here we go. Probably before I transform him, we ought to show you how his posability is. Diac's head is, of course, on a ball joint, so it does allow you to turn the head from side to side, and it can rock up and down a little. But, of course, the whole head section on Prime does have some movability there, like so. You can raise his arm up to the side about so far, and the arm does rotate all the way around if you adjust the shoulder pieces a little bit. He does have a joint at the elbow, so you can bend his arm at the elbow about 90 degrees. And he does have a swivel at the bicep. So he does have the G.I. Joe battle grip. His legs can be spread apart to do a full splits. And he can raise his leg at the hip about 90 degrees and can bend at the knee 90 degrees. Plus there is also a swivel in his thigh that does allow the legs to turn. So, you do have quite a range of motion on this Optimus toy. Now let's transform him. Now here we have Optimus in his plane mode, and needless to say, folks, I'm not entirely impressed with it. I mean, don't get me wrong, the fuselage up here is pretty nice looking. Especially enjoy the nice, large Autobot symbol right here on the side. Looks pretty good from up here. It's just, once we get further to the back, and we can see the truck kibble, that's when it really starts to lose it here. Of course, on here, this bright yellow area does open up. So that would be the cockpit area. That's where you would store Diac in. So we'll just go ahead and put him in there and close him up. They also have the holes here on the sides, which you can mount the weapons on. And we'll go ahead and do that here. Now, I don't know where you're from or how you do weapons in your countries, but I gotta tell you, this looks rather silly. This looks rather silly, folks. I mean, the gun hanging out here to the side, and then you got a sword here on this side. It's gonna that's gonna ruin the aerodynamics of the airplane. I gotta say that, folks. It doesn't look that great. I mean, it swooshes kinda okay. It's not perfect, but I'm not really sure this works even in a child's imagination. Let's take a look at the final vehicle mode, shall we? Alright, now we've got Optimus into his other mode. And unfortunately, since he's a repaint of Octane, or Octone rather, he becomes a fuel truck specifically. Which, that doesn't really matter as much since the trailer's joined to the body. We really don't get the playability with that, so I guess we'll have to live with that. One thing that I will want to mention is that the wheels on this thing are just attached through a post in the hole, so they do come out easily. This is a used sample of the toy, and as you can see, somebody else already took one of the wheels away. At least if nothing else, they did paint Prime's cab up in the traditional red color that we all associate with Optimus. Of course, this is a Cybertronian long-nose style truck. And of course, just like with the other mode, we can store Diac inside the yellow cockpit area. And of course, this time he'd be facing the other direction. And the holes are still present on the fuel tank, so again, you can mount the weapons. And while at least the gun looks half decent here on the side of the trailer, the sword here, doesn't stretch out far enough to hit anything, so aside from storage of the weapon, it's really useless. Alright, now even with one wheel missing, Optimus should still roll pretty good on this table here. Let's find out. Oh yeah, we got some real good rolling action here out of this toy. So, even with one wheel missing, we're still doing a good job with that. Alright, it's time to take a look at Megatron. Now here we have Megatron, and I will give them some points for trying to make him somewhat look like his G1 counterpart. I mean, it's not perfect, but he does come off hitting many of the right marks. But again, the design also isn't entirely perfect. So, I mean, the fusion cannon hangs out a little too far than what it should. So, it's nice to see that's an improvement on the Siege toy. Of course, Megatron is a repaint for Blitzwing. So he will have similar alt modes of a tank and a fighter jet. Of course, let's take a look at Megatron's articulation before I take him apart. His Titan Master is on a bit of a ball joint, so the head can be turned left and right real easily, and it can look up and down. Megatron can raise his arms up that far. And his arms do rotate at the shoulder, but it only goes up to about there. And it can rotate all the way back that far. So he does have a fair amount of range of motion, just not as much. He does have a joint at the elbow, so you can bend his arm at the elbow 90 degrees. And he does have a swivel at the bicep. So he does have that all-important G.I. Joe battle grip. Megatron can separate his legs out into a full splits. He also does have a swivel in his thigh. He can raise his leg at the hip almost to about 95 degrees, and he can bend his leg at the knee about 90 degrees. So an impressive amount of motion for Megatron. Now, of course, we'll remove Megatron's head so you can get another look at his partner in crime. This is Doomshot. Doomshot of it provides Megatron with the ability to fire super fusion blasts. So apparently, if he has access to Megatron's fusion cannon, he can power up the cannon for a more devastating blast. And then, of course, we also have Megatron's fusion cannon here. It has these posts on the sides so that it can be mounted in different ways, which kind of works for the alternate modes, but I'd have preferred a post to have went somewhere in here so that it could mount and look a little more proper on Megatron's arm than like this. But that would get in the way for the other modes, so it's kind of just going to live with it. And then lastly, we have this gray colored gun, which of course has a big section cut out in it, so that Doomshot or any other Titan Master figure can sit down in it and man it as a cannon. If that's what floats your boat. Now, let's start transforming Megatron into his modes. Now, here's Megatron in his tank mode. Of course, he's got fake treads there, but he has 4 red wheels underneath. How well does he roll on those wheels? Rolls fairly good. Of course, with the turret like this, it can fully rotate all the way around. So of course, you can open up the cockpit here a little bit, and then Doomshot just sits inside like so. And you just cover him up like that. The fusion cannon, if you would like a bigger gun, you can connect the fusion cannon on here. Its motion does limit how it can rotate, but you can easily just simply raise it up and over. And of course, for a little added firepower, there are a couple of notches here at the front of the fusion cannon. You can mount the other gun on, but it doesn't tend to stay on very well, unfortunately. There is also the option that you can mount the two together, like so, for a very impressive long cannon. Well, the problem is that there's no proper way to attach this to the tank itself, so, again, kind of bloody stupid. So, I guess that's about the best way to do the full version of the tank. So now we'll flip him over and put him into plane mode. And lastly, we have this airplane mode, which is, of course, a little bulky and beefed up due to it having to hide the tank turret, unfortunately, on the bottom. But nonetheless, it does swoosh fairly decently. Not a fan of the fact that the fists are showing. It also shows we can connect the fusion cannon here under the nose. Unfortunately, the only way to do that is to mount it on one of the side holes, like so. And then, of course, the posts for the other gun can be attached here to the back. And Doomshot can ride back there. That's sort of okay, but again, it kind of detracts a bit from the overall appearance. all in all, these two were fairly decent additions to the Transformer toy line, but like many, I do find too many faults in the toys to really find them all that enjoyable. I really can't get my head around the concept of Optimus and Megatron being triple changers. Not to say that they couldn't be. So after all, they are some of the most powerful Transformers in existence, so if they could do a good triple change mode, then maybe that would be sellable. These, however, just really aren't. I think a little too much thought went into the gimmick of what to do with the Titan Master than what to do with their alternate modes in general. Because the way their weapons are attached on both of their alternate modes really doesn't work out that great. They don't look good aesthetically, and in some cases they're just totally useless. So, it makes it kind of hard to make a big sell on these two, folks. I mean, if you really want them in your collection, I would say go for them. Because right now, they pretty much are not all that expensive, so if you do really want them in your collection, I would say grab them up. Especially Megatron, because the following line, the Power of the Primes, Megatron did not get an appearance in that line for some reason, so there's actually a segment where you would actually miss Megatron for it, but of course Optimus got the large evolution character, and as you heard from my Nemesis Prime review of that toy, that one really had some faults in it. So finding one that's in good condition is a really good challenge as well. So kind of look at these as guys that, if you gotta have it, go for it. But if you don't have to have them, I would say consider passing on them, because they really aren't the best. And that concludes my review of the Titans Return versions of Optimus Prime and Megatron. I hope you all enjoyed them. If you like this review, drop me a thumbs up here on YouTube. New to the channel, please hit that subscribe button down below to join our ranks. And also ring the bell so you'll be notified when we post new content. So this month I may throw a bunch up just for the heck of it. And also share this video with your friends and fellow collectors. That helps this channel grow. And share your thoughts about these two toys in the comments down below, unless YouTube blocks those out. Hopefully they won't. This is Sparkster1701 saying I will catch you all later.